Welcome to the Leadership, Recruitment, and Nominations Committee's online Q&A with our ACRL presidential candidates. My name is Amanda Peters, and I'm chairing the LRNC this year. I'll begin by introducing our candidates and then ask them a series of questions. Our candidates will have 4 minutes each to answer the question. So let's get started. Anne Marie Casey is the director of the Hunt Library at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. She also worked in a variety of positions at the libraries of Central Michigan University, National University, the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Springfield Technical Community College, and Greenfield Community College. Anne holds a PhD in managerial leadership in the information professions from Simmons University and an MLS from the University of Michigan, and an MA in Medieval Studies from the Catholic University of America. Since joining ACRL in 1993, Anne has been an active volunteer and chair on division and section committees, particularly focusing on the distance learning section, which she chaired in 2002. She is also active in state library associations, currently serving on the board of directors of the Florida Library Association. Anne's interests include library assessment, leadership, strategic planning, and scholarly communication. John E. Cawthorn, PhD, is Dean of the Wayne State University Library System and the University School of Information Sciences. Prior to joining WSU, Cawthorn was Dean of Libraries at West Virginia University. While at WVU, Cawthorn's commitment to diversity among academic librarians led to co-founding the Library Diversity Alliance. In 2016, an inspired Association of College and Research Libraries Board voted to sponsor and expand the alliance under the ACRL aegis. Today, Cawthorn chairs the ACRL Diversity Alliance program, which unites over 50 academic libraries that share a commitment to growing the hiring pipeline of qualified, talented individuals from underrepresented racial and ethnic groups. Cawthorn has also held leadership positions with Detroit Public Libraries, Florida State University, Boston College, and San Diego State University. He holds an MLS degree from the University of Maryland and a PhD in managerial leadership in the information professions from Simmons College. I'll go ahead and read the first question. ALA is currently in the beginning stages of planning a reorganization. What do you see as ACRL's role in helping with this process? How would you like to see ACRL positioned so that it can evolve and flourish as a part of ALA?
I participated in a forum and other conversations at ALA midwinter regarding the beginning stages of the ALA reorganization. And I've also looked through the remodeling options report, which was published as a way to find out more about what people are thinking out in the profession. And I heard some concerns about the direction ALA might be taking. And I share some of those concerns. What I heard a lot was what is going to happen to us? What is going to be done to us? And I think that there were some themes in the remodeling options report that really they resonated with me, particularly describing ALA as being too large, too fragmented, and not being interested in what, or supporting what librarians are doing today. And I think some of that can apply to ACRL as well, because I see that ACRL is also kind of big and maybe a little fragmented as well. But I see that although there might be some concerns that we will have something done to us, I think ACRL could take this as an opportunity. We could look inside of what we're doing here at ACRL and see if we might be a little bit too big and have a lot of layers that perhaps aren't necessary. Maybe we've got some duplication of efforts and silos that are not useful for today's library. And rather than waiting for ALA to tell us how we're going to look in the future, perhaps we could be that change leader that develops a model for ALA, for the rest of ALA, that we look into what's going on at ACRL and see if there's some way that we can identify practices that might be legacy practices that just are not as relevant anymore and look to abandoning them in favor of newer practices and newer areas that are supporting what the expectations are of our library members today. I think we could capitalize on what we're doing well and grow it, and spread what we're doing across the divisions, and be a better, more nimble organization. And as I said, possibly be that model for the ALA reorganization rather than waiting for the ALA reorganization to bring us along with it. Where I'd like to see ACRL positioned as it evolves and can flourish as a part of ALA kind of goes along with what I've already said. If we can demonstrate some change leadership ourselves and do some work in ACRL that moves us more into a more nimble organization, then we will be a model for the rest of ALA. And we also, I think, will always belong, no matter what ALA does. I believe that it will have to have distinct organizations that support the large library groups, such as academic libraries, public libraries. We'll always be part of ALA, but I think we've got an opportunity now to make our own future.
Okay, thank you.
Colleagues, it's really great to be with you today. I think this is a really interesting and wonderful question, because really ALA does need to change, but it's so big. You know, we rely on these conferences, both the midwinter and summer. And then when you get into it, they pointed me on this committee, this business committee, to look at the business practices of ALA. And when you really look into it, how much we actually need the conference to really sustain all of ALA. It's very complex. It has lots of many layers. But I think ACRL is already a leader within ALA. So I agree with Ann that we need to be a place where we can incubate ideas for ALA, some new business models perhaps, or new ways to think about professional development. These are really important, because if you think about it, ALA really doesn't have a space to be able to do that. But you can think about any library. We don't have very many spaces to think about new ideas in our libraries either. So I think this is a good way to do it at a national level. And I'd be excited to be able to be at the table to have these conversations, to represent ACRL, but also to be able to think about it in a really positive way about how to position our really wonderful national association.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question. Advocacy is a critical issue within our profession. What do you think ACRL should be doing to promote advocacy among its members?
Yeah, in this one, I really believe that ACRL is really well positioned for greater advocacy. You can go to the website and look at all the ways that we're advocating. I think what we're doing at Wayne State is we're also thinking about how does the space in the library fit what we want to do as we advocate new ways to think about things. This is all about ideas and really helping connect the dots. We've seen over time that our national statistics have gone down, but really what people need, we have. And so it's really a challenge for us and our organizations to think about that. We have this pillar in community engagement, and I'm really excited about that as one of the examples that we might have to bring to ACRL and show all of our colleagues how we might repurpose the space to be more of an interdisciplinary hub on the campus, and also to really help students who graduate in majors, to help them see across disciplines. The problems that we're leaving them are all very big and complex, but they're across disciplines, and so we can work in a way that would be really helpful. So that's how I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. I agree with you that there are a lot of great resources that ACRL has. This is a really important question, and it impacts all of us. Last year, I led strategic planning for my regional consortium, and one of the things that came up as a recurrent theme, and one of the strongest recurrent themes among the members when we were doing our information gathering sessions, was a need for advocacy training and support. ACRL does provide a wealth of information on library advocacy, and I've often tapped into those resources over the years and find them very useful. So I guess our question is, why aren't people using them? And I think the thing is that advocacy is such a large and overwhelming prospect for many of us that we don't know where to begin. Advocacy work often falls outside of the expertise and comfort level of many of us. It's not something we were trained for, socialized for very often in our master's degree programs. And it's not something we're often trained for in the beginning of our careers. And a lot of times I think we think that advocacy belongs to the director or the associate directors, and it's not part of the work of the line librarian, so you never use it. So I guess coming down to the answer to that question is, beyond the materials and information provided by ACRL, some of the things that we could consider might be partnering with chapters, with ACRL chapters on local legislative advocacy. And that would be including educating librarians about the impact of local legislators on funding for their libraries and engaging academic libraries more in local legislative issues. Another thing might be to develop new program tracks at our conferences specific to advocacy issues and promote those. Another idea might be to publish successful case studies from libraries across the spectrum. There are many good library advocates out there, but it's not always easy to find someone who's doing advocacy in the way you need to do it in your library. So if we could develop more of a resource for librarians to go and find out what is somebody doing who's in a library like mine, and what have they done that's already been successful that I could probably emulate? And going along with that, possibly developing a mentor pool. So those who have been successful at advocating in libraries could make themselves available to help people who need to learn. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, question 3. What experiences do you feel best prepared you to serve as president of ACRL? And if you are the successful candidate, what do you think will be most challenging about serving in this position?
Thanks, Amanda. I believe that I bring a strong set of experiences. I have, to begin with, I have many, many years worth of leadership and volunteer service in ACRL, in ALA, and in state associations, including being past chair of the distance learning section. I've also got work experience that is pretty broad. I've worked in community college, small university, and medium-sized university libraries. I've also been a practitioner in public services, tech services, and administration. So I think I bring a real depth and breadth of library experience. In addition to that, I have a strong research and publication record. So although I've never worked in a research library, I understand the needs of researchers and that type of library as well. In addition to my library experience and my experience in professional associations, I think I bring something that's a little different than the average librarian does. For 3 years at my university, I was tapped to take on a role in university administration. I was actually asked to leave the library and to assume responsibility for student success and retention on our campus, as well as to take on some departments that were dealing with organizational development problems and turn them around, make them more successful departments. As a result of my retention activity, I have developed an incredible amount of collaboration on campus and have learned to look at the library from the outside in, to see us the way other people see us. Now that I'm back in the library again, we're using those collaborations and the work that we did, that I did in the student success efforts that we're incorporating into the library and aligning ourselves far more with what's going on campus. And I think that experience could also prove well in a presidency, understanding what it's like, what those people outside the library, how they view us. I would also bring a successful track record as an innovator, and I think good communication skills. What do I think would be the most challenging? Balancing my work with the work of the association. No matter what I do, I put 100% effort into it. I care about what I do, and if I am the successful candidate, I will be doing 2 very difficult full-time jobs that I'll need to give my attention to. And I'll also need to make sure I'm taking care of my mental and physical health so I don't fall apart in the middle of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, colleagues. And Anne gave a great answer. The last part is very important. It would be my schedule, of course, because I'm Dean of the Libraries and also Dean of the School of Information Sciences. I, just like Anne, have been in leadership roles in state and national associations and joined GWILA twice. So I really believe in how we come together as libraries to solve some of the same problems we have as we work together to define what our roles are in this new age. I greatly appreciate, and I think this is also tied to preparation to be president at ACRL, that I am one of the senior leaders on the campus level talking about how higher education is really affecting our industry. And that gives me a lot of thought about how we can be creative in libraries to address some of these issues. And one of the ideas is, of course, the Diversity Alliance that we can think across. But then I'm also thinking, because I'm Dean of the School of Information Sciences, that we might be able to create badges or certifications that would help people along their way. There's reports out that this generation is going to change careers 16 times, but we see them only 4 years. And we should really think about how do we create some value and benefit after they graduate. So I think that, as Anne said, that the real challenge will be the schedule, but I have a lot of energy and passion for what I do too, and I would give my all to be there to position ACRL to be successful in the future for the next person that comes along. I would also inspire people to think about leadership positions, because I think they're just really important, and they're not positions people should be afraid of.
Okay, thank you. All right, question 4. At the end of your presidency, what would you expect your key accomplishments to be?
Apologies for that. I think there's 3 things. First of all, I think people would really be able to see someone who's very, very passionate and loves what I do. So that's really good for all the people in various sizes of institutions to see there's someone that really, really loves this work and wants to position it for the future. I would like to see more diversity in every library through the Diversity Alliance. That also means that leaders must understand more about the organizational culture they create, so more conversations about how do we welcome people that are different than us. I would also be excited to talk about how libraries fit into the future of higher education, because I think we have a really strong role there that we haven't necessarily taken the mantle on, but we can kind of demonstrate that through the work that I would do in the association and the work that I'm doing at Wayne State. Part of the reason why I'm running, this is my best friend, Anne Marie Casey. I have to say that. But part of the reason why I'm running is because we have a unique environment here at Wayne State of being an urban Research One institution that has a library school. So how does all of that fit to begin to prepare people for the future? And we should start right now. There's nothing to say that we need to wait and we'll never be ready. So we can do little changes, and that is also good for our whole profession to see that that process can happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are very good friends. So this is an interesting experience for both of us. I see 3 major areas that I would expect to see key accomplishments. And 2 of them are areas that we're discussing in these, answering in these questions. One is I'd like to see a successful reorganization of ACRL as part of the ALA reorganization process. And know that I demonstrated some change leadership as part of that. I'd also like to see a far more diverse academic and research library workforce, and I'll be addressing that in the next question. The 3rd area that I'd like to see a key accomplishment would be in the area that I built my platform around, which is establishing resources and networking opportunities to support the ACRL strategic plan goal area of new roles and changing landscapes. And in particular, I'd like to focus on the objective that's to deepen ACRL's advocacy and support for the full range of the academic library workforce. My perception over the years of my involvement in ACRL is that there's a strong representation from particular types of libraries and lesser representation from others. I think it would be important to develop ways to attract and engage librarians who are not active ACRL members. ACRL, it offers so much, and so much that we're doing that can help people as they're navigating the changing landscapes and dealing with new expectations. So I'd like to engage in a period of questioning. Why are people not engaged? Is there something that, what do we need to do, what do they need to do to effectively respond to the changing expectations at their colleges and universities, and how can ACRL help them with that? And possibly look into developing new avenues to educate and involve more members in areas of ACRL that are already very strong, but also to implement new training, program, networking, and support opportunities that come up as a result of doing some investigation into why people are not involved, why they're not joining, and why they're not engaged. And I also think a part of this could be to engage much more actively with the ACRL chapters. I was active in the ACRL chapters in Michigan and in Florida. I still am in Florida. And I feel a lot of times there's a disconnect between the state ACRL organizations and national ACRL. And these might be a great way to provide a pipeline for new members and new ideas from members, and find out ways that ACRL can support the full range of the academic library workforce.
Okay, thank you. All right, our final question. It's a long one. Developing a racially, ethnically, and economically diverse library workforce has been a topic within librarianship for years, if not decades. Yet librarianship remains a disproportionately white profession that does not reflect the diversity of the communities it serves. What specific actions could ACRL take to make a diverse library profession a reality? How can ACRL be a more inclusive organization? Please share your personal experience with fostering EDI within your own organizations and/or network.
Well, there are a lot of great areas that ACRL is working on right now. The Diversity Alliance, great kudos to John for that. Our core commitment to EDI, committees at the ACRL national level, as well as section committees, and sponsoring Spectrum Scholars, which is something that we're doing even more of. But it's obviously, everything we're doing is making a difference, but I think we need to make a bigger difference and more quickly. And some specific actions that I think ACRL can take are to develop more training and guidelines for recruitment and retention of people from underrepresented groups. Develop best practices and guidelines for creating job descriptions that are more inclusive and would attract a greater variety of people other than the ones who are similar to the ones currently working in academic libraries. ACRL could also help with postings to different groups that represent stronger groups of underrepresented people, such as BCALA or the Chinese American Library Association. It's hard sometimes to get your ads out for jobs on some of those in some of those resources. And I think the biggest thing that ACRL could do, and probably the hardest thing, and this is something that John alluded to in the answer to in his answer to a previous question, but to foster the development of inclusivity among the majority populations. I think we all understand diversity. I don't think we understand inclusion as well, or equity as well, and how important it is to welcome people. If we have worked for the majority of our lives with people who look like us, sound like us, worship like us, have the same orientation we do, we don't realize how difficult it is to be that one or that two different people that come into an organization and try to find a fit. We have a culture we've developed that's comfortable for us, and it's easy for us to move into other academic libraries because that's the culture we're part of. I think it would be important for ACRL to start developing programs that would teach people about what it's like to welcome people in, to learn what it's like to be that different person going into an organization where everyone else is a different, looks different than you do. And how would you feel if you were that person, and kind of use that to develop new, more inclusive workplaces. I also think another area that ACRL could work is to target develop speaker programs for undergraduates to go into undergraduate institutions with speakers who encourage undergraduates to consider going into librarianship as a career, and particularly we could target colleges and universities that have more students from underrepresented groups. I think that ACRL could be a more inclusive organization by learning and teaching our members what being an inclusive organization is, and I talked about that in the my last response. And my personal experiences with fostering EDI are endeavors that I've engaged in a lot over the years, but haven't made a lot of progress, so it's frustrating for me. I make an effort in any recruitment process that I do to get my job descriptions out far and wide and try to get them out to all over so that I will attract people of different, from different areas. I've served as a Spectrum Scholar, and I've also been a Spectrum Scholar mentor, and I've also mentored librarians from underrepresented groups within my state association. I work with librarians and staff in my organizations who are from other cultures to encourage them to contribute in ways that are comfortable for them and to capitalize on their strengths. Basically, I make a point of seeking input from everyone and including that input into the decisions that I make. And in addition to that, I've served on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee on my campus, and I'm in the process of helping to launch a new task force group from our retention committee exploring underrepresented, the retention of underrepresented students on our campus.
Okay, thank you.
Colleagues, well, I was really pleased and humbled when we created the Diversity Alliance with Virginia Tech, American, and the University of Iowa. We had 8 positions and we had over 300 posts. I mean, we had 8 positions and we had over 300 applicants. So what that says is there's people out there that are very interested in working in our environments. We have 2 problems that the Diversity Alliance is really trying to solve. One is that we're trying to create a pipeline for get more experience for people to work in our organizations. But the other one is that we must make the organizations present and really thoughtful about what kind of inclusion are they creating? What kind of ways are they helping the residents become successful in that environment? And what we're finding, because we have now 50 institutions part of the Diversity Alliance, is that some institutions and organizations are not necessarily doing the work to be more inviting. So I think that in this year, we're going to put some very concrete measures together for institutions that want to join the Diversity Alliance. It's not just about paying $500. It's about actually saying that you have a leadership commitment. You see that there's a problem, and in fact, it's been for decades, the question says. So we've been doing it, but we don't need to do it in a way that's reductionary or say that we're lacking anything. I think this profession is wonderful. And I think our efforts have all been coming from good places. We have to just think about this in a different way. And if we work together, the idea is not just that we would work with the Diversity Alliance and we would have diversity within our organizations, but this Diversity Alliance idea is a representation of how we might work together on a whole number of ideas that we're all doing the same in each one of our environments. What if we could work together across our institutions to help do scholarly communication or any number of things, data analytics positions? We could share some of that work around. We'd have to think about the models, of course, but this alliance is actually teaching us that if we work together, we can solve big problems. And that's really what this is about. It's a long-term effort. And if people think it's just about the residency program, it's really not, because this program has been designed to focus on leaders. So leaders must take this frame that we have created with the Diversity Alliance and then bring it into their organizations and make it a welcoming environment for these diverse individuals. They'll benefit in many, many ways, from the service that these folks will have on the committees to the ways that they'll be able to connect back to the changing demographics in the institute. And then was AR Leadership Career Development Program almost 25 years ago, and I've been in other leadership programs too. We also need to create better pathways for management out of those people that just get into the field for 3 or 4 or 5 years? Are there really good mechanisms for them to learn about leadership and management going to the next step and the next step? That's what I think we could work on also in the Diversity Alliance. But I think there's great potential, and in anything there's a little bit of struggle and a little bit of misunderstanding. But I think if we stay on the path, that this question will be different in 10 years, 15 years. We'll be thinking about the next thing we can do together.
All right. Well, thank you very much to both Anne and John for your thoughtful responses to our questions. And that concludes our interview.
Well, in closing, about a dozen years ago, I was having a conversation with a colleague about the future of academic libraries and their importance in higher education. As I grew more animated describing my ideas, she asked if I'd ever considered running for president of ACRL. The question took me by surprise because up to that point I hadn't. But it also captured my interest, and occasionally over the years since, I've wondered what I might accomplish if I were offered this opportunity. So last year, when I got the phone call asking if I would accept the nomination, I was excited, and that excitement has persisted throughout the last year because I believe I have the passion for libraries and the leadership skills needed to do a great job. If I'm elected president, I will bring a wealth of experience, visionary leadership, and strong interpersonal communication skills to my work over the next 3 years. I know there will be challenges, and I will have a lot to learn, but I pledge to work hard, do my best for the profession and an association that I love. And if I'm not the successful candidate, then I pledge to support the presidency of my good friend John Cawthorn. Thank you.
Thank you. I am just really humbled to be in this position to be able to give back to this profession. This profession has given me so much, and I love this profession, and I love this work in leadership that we do. It's very, very important that we have great examples of leadership. So I appreciate ACRL really seeing the need for the Diversity Alliance, but there's much more we can do. And I'd be really pleased to represent all the folks in college and library, research libraries, as we think about the future and as we think about the changing reorganization that happens at ALA. And this is just a wonderful time, and I hope people would be and see how excited I am, and that's sort of infectious to everyone else, that we're not lacking anything. We're actually really in a good position, but we do have to think about what we do as a profession and what we do in our college and research libraries. But I'm prepared to do that with time and energy. And I tell you, if I don't win, I will support my good friend Ann Casey. And if I do win, she will be right there with me, actually. So you get both with this election. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Please vote in the ALA ACRL election starting March 11th.